Hello. So a little coaching curiosity video today about what you might want the future of work or the future of your office to be like. I think we're all getting a little bit of time now. So much more positive, isn't it, really, with the lockdown dates and just seeing when we're going to be able to get out and meet friends and get back into cities where we work, maybe and the offices, even on different variances of cadence and what that might look like. So there's an opportunity to think about learning as we return, learn and return, and what we might redesign. I've done some videos in the past about what's the good 5% of bad situations that you can take forward, or maybe what's the crap we can leave behind. What stuff don't we want to do again? And this culture of learn as we return, is coming up a lot in the coaching kind of conversations that I'm having. Whether you're a founder or a CEO, a managing director, a people leader, whatever you might be, or whether you're a coach like me, coaching other coaches or mentoring other coaches, or a coach like me, talking to staff or members of teams. There's a lot of people asking, or maybe more importantly, worrying about what might be next. And of course, it's almost impossible to think, isn't it? Impossible to predict what the future is going to look like. So that culture of learning as you return is, I think, really important. Quite a good newsletter from Bruce Daisley about the future of work. He was talking about this nothing to see here mentality. He's talking about maybe macho cultures in fintech or finance institutions in the city who are just saying, yeah, you got this date in June. We expect you all back 5 days a week, totally normal, same time, no change. Nothing's happened, nothing to see here, that kind of approach. And then the other end of the scale, you've got maybe digital businesses like Dropbox saying we're remote first now that when we're hiring, or Twitter, a lot of their roles now say, this could be 100% working from home or working remotely role. So no one knows what the future is going to look like. But I think leaders and team leaders and management are a little bit concerned about that imposter in our head, a little bit worried about maybe what staff might think about a certain situation. And I think staff are a little bit worried about, what am I going to be asked to do? Am I going to be asked to come back at the same time? Am I going to be pressed up against someone's armpit on the 8:30 express from Surbiton? No one wants that again, but there is the possibility to think about, well, there's different times, isn't there? Less busy times. So what can you discuss kind of with a coach if you choose to go down that route? And I think it's kind of, well, what do you want to take forward? What type of business are you? And how does that shape you? So what do you want to take forward? Balance. We've all had a lot more balance, haven't we? I think in the last 12 months. I think that's a great thing. And I think that's not something, anyone wants to give up, because we've got our mental health, we've got our physical health that we want to keep going. I think we want less stressful journeys. Now, I miss London. I'm sure lots of you watching this will miss the cities that you want to go back to, because they're amazing places and spaces. But it might be not be packed like a cattle, on the 8:30 or the 7:30. I always used to go in a bit late. So it might not be early, and it might be, it might be even earlier, or it might be later. So we can maybe have the opportunity to stretch our days. What else do we want to take forward? Closer relationships. So some people, have been saying, hey, there's someone I work with and I've never really spoken to him before. And now I've had these really in-depth chats. I see into their, living room, and I've got to know them really well. So how can you take some of that forward? I used to work on the international side. Prior to being a coach, I was on the international side of media and marketing. And I think it would have been great if I'd done more video calls with people in Costa Rica and Japan and America, and I used to shy away from it. So how fantastic now that everyone in the corporate world has got that opportunity to take a bit of that forward. And then trust. I think there's a lot more trust in the workforce now. At least hope it's kind of less chained to the desk. You got to see them in order to know that they're actually doing the work. And then again, so another question would be, what kind of a business are you? If you're a manufacturing, business, you got to bake bread and make it or whatever, or make something, put washers on or whatever it is, you kind of need to be there, or at least a lot of the staff do. If you're client focused, you need to have, if clients are going to be in your office, you need to be there with them to support them, because that's what they're paying you for. But it might not have to be that 9 to 5 mentality again. And then another question is, what types of roles do you have? Not everything is equal. It's okay that some people might need to be in the office more than others. Okay, maybe don't get hung up on the imposter in your head telling you that some people might not be happy about that. It's a culture of learning and test and learn. It's also okay to think about how many days feels right. You're paying a lot of rent, but I think the average desk kind of occupancy rate for most companies was about 60% pre-pandemic. Okay, so and obviously during the pandemic it's down to 0%. So the natural, it's somewhere between those two, isn't it? Really, I think. And we've all got other things to do. Maybe nip out and see people, nip out and grow relationships, or work remotely is one of those options as well. So it's okay to have a feeling and a conversation about how many days feels right, and test that and learn from it. Now, it's also, if you're an employee and you want to go more work from home, just be mindful that if you work 100% remotely, you are potentially putting yourself in competition with a global workforce. So, in my last company, the IT was 90% done in Romania. The invoicing was all done in India. So if you're 100% remote, in the future, your job competition pool might be actually, a little bit wider than that. I've had great opportunity to grow my coaching business globally, and I coach people all over the world, which is amazing, because prior to that, I was probably concentrating on, where I could travel to during the day. So it's great, but again, with me, I am competing with an ever-growing global talent pool. So another question would be, what type of company and culture do you have, or do you want to create? And how does it feel to people? How do you want it to feel when they're there? I work with some awesome clients who've got real fun workplaces. They've got enjoyable spaces and places. They've got people, and they encourage people to be, lively, and they encourage connection, whatever that might be. And people want to return to that. And don't think, if you're a leadership boss, don't think that they don't. They want some of that. They just might not. They might be just a little bit scared, and, again, about doing it 5 days a week all of a sudden again. It's going to take time, isn't it, for all of us to adapt, I think. And don't get caught up on one particular approach. You can say we're test and learn, and we do that, but we want certain groups of people to be in the office all at the same time, and that's something to design. And don't be afraid to crowdsource and ask for people's opinions, because you might be, when people are asked about things, you might get better answers, you might get a better flavor of answer, you might get some things you haven't thought about. So it's a kind of test and learn approach. The future's not set in stone. What would be the benefit of an approach like let's learn as we return, and kind of workshopping and working through some of those questions? So they're just a few thoughts about, some of the conversations that are currently going on. If you're a leader and you want to use me as a sounding board, if you want me to kind of coach through some of the feedback that you've had, then just drop me a line. You know where I am. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.